Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, or we have some spicy news actually in the Raid Digest today. I'm tying in, believe it or not, to a video I'm planning to do tomorrow. Stay tuned for that one. It should be a very interesting one on whether or not Raid Shadow Legends is too hard. Stay tuned. It's gonna be a fun discussion. It is. But let's look at the big news. So, bosses rebalance. Not we knew about Sandevil, right? They told us, they confirmed it explicitly with the Adolin release. Now the word, I think she is she as poorly received as Alexander the sharpshooter? Let's actually double check that right now. Finding it out live. Is she as badly received? Actually worse, I think, which is shocking. That's funny. That's funny. The worst received. Yeah, she is the worst received free login champion in the game. But they confirmed with her that they are going to be rebalancing Sandevil. Well, they've now confirmed they are also going to rebalance the Iron Twins and Phantom Shogun, which is a big change. Now, we don't have specific details, but they have said this. The main direction is to make them more approachable on all stages, even on the higher ones. So, while already effective teams won't be affected, there'll be more wiggle room to do some experimenting and mid-game farming. More details later. I don't know how you change the bosses without affecting already effective teams. Like, surely they will. I can't see how they won't be affected. I can see already effective teams still being effective. I can see them still working, still being viable. But will they still be optimal? I don't know. Like, maybe they'll be easier to run. But yeah, I'm curious about that. But let's look at this, then we'll talk about the other stuff here. What could they change with these things, right? With Sandevil, I mean, one thing I'm curious about, with Sandevil right now, when you put him to sleep and he wakes up, he becomes immune to sleep for a turn. One thing they could do to make it a lot easier, I wonder if this could be a hint, would be instead of having him be immune to sleep, maybe he just get block debuffs. So you can just sleep him again and again and again. That could be kind of nice. And would make Chronicler Adolin quite a bit better because she'd be able to re-sleep him. That'd be pretty good because she can ignore the block debuffs. But you could also just bring in like block buffs, or you could bring in a buff strip or something to get rid of block debuffs if he gets it on him. Something like that would be cool. I also think, you know, one thing they could do with the Sandevil is just make him maybe not hit quite as hard. Like, he destroys your max HP, and that's a real problem for staying alive. You got to time the revive on death very specific. Like, I don't know. He also sort of designed about revive on death. It's very awkward. You need revive on death and you need sleeps. Honestly, like, the most popular teams for Sandevil, the two teams that I have used hilariously, right, for Team 1, which is the Godseeker team. The Godseeker team ignores, I think I might still have it in my, no, I've deleted it. But the Godseeker team ignores sleep entirely. And you just use Godseeker, revive on death, passive, and her revive to just do that. So you ignore sleep. But the team I actually use at the moment, this team uses sleep with Sifi, who's by far the best sleep champion for this because it cannot be resisted. And it ignores the revive on death. Like, the boss never gets to hit us once. Like, I know of very few teams that use revive on death and also use sleep. Like, you just don't use both. It's a clunkiness with the boss design that it's so difficult to make all of that stuff work together. So I would love to see that being changed, honestly. I think even getting rid of the revive on death thing maybe would be the way to go. Make him hit much less hard and have it be more of a focus on restoring destroyed max HP so that he can't wear you down. And yeah, on bringing, you know, multiple sources of sleep to the boss, maybe that sort of thing. But I don't know. I don't know. Again, I really actually do think, that they probably want to get rid of the Godseeker team. I do. So yeah, I'm not sure about that not being affected. We will see. But for Sandevil, those are the sorts of things I would change. I think the boss is a little bit of a disaster because of that. It's very hard to play the boss as intended. In fact, I think there have been several champions that have been intended as Sandevil champions that literally don't get you. Like, Noct the Paralyzer. He has a sleep with poisons. His passive, whenever an ally is attacked under ally protection, he can sleep the attacker. I feel like he was clearly designed as a Sand Devil champion. People do like him there, but like I've never seen any high-end teams use him. Like I've seen even very few low-end teams use him, because on the low end you can just use something like a Muck Stalker and blow up the boss, right? You don't really need the Noct. So Noct is a weird one. I think the other one that's a real stinker is Clydna, who comes in. She does have Revive on death. She does have heals and like decrease like debuffs and stuff. She can sleep on her A1. Like, what is the point of this champion? She seems like she's supposed to be a Sand Devil champion, but again, it just does nothing useful. This champion is dreadful. I feel like I don't know. I feel like they put out sleep champions that were supposed to be for Sand Devil, but it just doesn't make sense. So yeah, Sand Devil's been a bit of a disaster and definitely needs these changes. Phantom Shogun. This is an interesting one, actually. In fact, let me run my Sand Devil team so you can see it. And then we'll run, it's very quick. And then we'll do the Phantom Shogun. Now I'm going to save energy. Phantom Shogun. To me, Phantom Shogun is nowhere near as big of a problem as Sand Devil. I will say, for me, probably the biggest problem with Phantom Shogun is actually the awakening requirements. I was going to do an updated guide on Phantom Shogun for my team, because I know people have tried to build the team that I've been showing up. It's actually apparently not my team, by the way. I'll show you the team. Apparently it was Biohack that came up with it first. And I don't know if I knew that before and I forgot, or if I didn't know it before. It's one of my biggest fears as a content creator is not attributing things properly just out of mistake. But it's this team. Apparently Biohack came up with this one, so huge shout out to him, because I think it's super accessible. What's the deal with Phantom Shogun that I think... Now, I'm not sure what they will change, but I think that this is something that they probably should change. With this boss, the thing I really don't like about this boss, is that your ability to push back his counter is dependent on the level of ascensions on your champions. That was actually one... I got some comments from people trying to build a team. They ran into problems was... They had high ascensions on Paragon and I think Reliquary Tender, but they had low ascensions on the other champions, and they found they actually were not able to manage the shade counter because their high ascensions were on champions that don't attack every turn, whereas Gnarlhorn and the damage dealers are attacking every turn. So that was interesting. Wasn't something I was aware of. But as you can see with this team, I think this is a fantastic team. Obviously, you need enough... ascensions on your champions to keep his shade counter low. Now, that's a problem for every team. You need that. This is easy to build. In fact, you could even replace her with another Cold Heart or anyone that does damage. What's nice about this is that it is potentially even a 5 rare team, and it's way, way easier to get ascensions on rare champions than it is on others. But you could slap in any old damage dealer that has high ascensions here and get away with it. Because you can see we need quite a lot of ascensions to get his thing down. So I think right there, for instance, after the cleanse, he could go above 10. And then I think he can use... Yeah, if the shade counter reaches 10, he can start using Wraith Javelin. And that can be bad. I think that can be a problem with this team. You need enough ascension. That's what I'd love to see changed. It's removing the ascension thing. Maybe having it be... I don't know. Having the shade counter, probably tweaking that a little bit. It's tough. It's tough. Again, like this boss has a ton of mechanics and we just never see any of them because we can manage the shade counter. This one is quite an awkward one. I certainly would like to see it. Yeah, I could see it being changed. At least this boss is sort of done with a full team. So at least there's that, and there's strategy in building the team. Like it's a specifically speed-tuned team with specific abilities. There's other variations of this sort of team as well. So I don't mind Phantom Shogun half as much as Sand Devil. I think Sand Devil is much worse. But yeah, will they remove the ascensions, like being so crucial? I don't know. Yeah, I'm really not sure. But I think that's definitely a bit of a problem with this boss. Let me know what you would change with it, because this is one I actually didn't expect. There's actually 2 bosses I would have expected them to change before Phantom Shogun. I actually think Phantom Shogun is not the worst 3 bosses in the game. I think there's ones that are worse. Now, Iron Twins, Yeah, I can definitely see this being changed. Number one, I'd love to see the rewards go up. I think that's a universal thing. We'd like to see more of these rewards. It's actually quite fun and fulfilling to save up and to actually upgrade specific champions, but it just takes so gosh darn long. It takes forever. And that's a really big problem with it. Makes it a lot less fun. The biggest problem, I think, definitely with this boss is, I mean, it's the Geomancer boss, really. The only really viable way to clear the boss quickly is with Geomancer. You can do it, like, okay, you can do it with like a Cold Heart. Maybe you can even do it with Newts and a Chrysia now. I haven't kept up with that too much. You can do it with like Cold Hearts, but it takes way, way, way longer. Geomancer is by far the fastest. Probably the biggest problem, can we actually, I don't think we can see anything here, unfortunately. Probably the biggest problem, if I click info, will it show info? Yeah, it does, good. I think that the biggest problem, oh no, it doesn't show us boss info, is his passive that cleanses off debuffs. And he starts to react to you and stuff like that. That's really annoying because it makes normal damage dealers extremely difficult to be viable, right? Because he keeps removing decreased defense and weaken. And, you know, then he starts smacking you out of turn and it makes normal damage dealers way slower. It's just really hard to use, let's say, a Turvold, great champion, massive single target damage. It's really hard to use them and be effective here because the boss just keeps cleansing the decreased defense and weakens off. And that really stops things. I would like to see that passive really be changed. We already have that passive very similarly with the Ice Golem. I don't think we need Ice Golem passive a second time on this boss, frankly. I don't mind if he hits you really hard, you know, when he passes a certain threshold. That could be cool. And the theme of the boss is like massive incoming damage. But I'd like to see it be changed. I mean, heck, even make him immune to decrease attack or something. Like, just have him hit really hard, immune to decrease attack. But let us get other debuffs on him and actually just like beat the crap out of him. And he'll beat the crap out of us in return. And at least it becomes somewhat interesting. But I would say that's probably the way to go. Because, yeah, look, right now, it's almost not even worth bothering with the boss unless you've got Geomancer. Or you want to build like a block damage team to get through it. Again, one thing I will say about this boss is at least you need pretty much a full team to do it, right? It's not, I'm going to throw in a Godseeker and cheese it with one champion, which I think is more an indicator of bad design than I think Shogun and Iron Twins, where at least you need a full team. I think that's, and like it is a full team build, at least that's good. Yeah, so I think Iron Twins could be good even with minor changes. I think another cool change, maybe making him take huge increased damage from reflect damage. That'd be really fun. We've got a bunch of champions with reflect damage in the game. It's totally useless. It's not good for anything. Well, not totally. It's good for Fire Knight, I guess, for knocking down the shield. But there really should be more purpose to it. Having a boss take huge increased damage from reflect damage buffs could be a really fun way to give you a Geomancer style strategy without actually needing Geomancer. One of the problems with reflect damage is it doesn't work if you have a shield. So maybe they'd have to change it with this boss as well. I don't know. To make it work definitely specifically. If they make reflect damage work on shields, that makes, for instance, Hydra way harder. If they get reflect damage up when they've devoured a champion, yikes, you're going to get absolutely minced when you're trying to break them free, for instance. That wouldn't be ideal, but, you know. So yeah, that's why I'd like to see a change with this. And I think another change that a lot of people would like to see would be to have the energy cost removed. To me, I don't personally really care that much, but I'd be totally happy as well if they remove the energy cost. I'd also even like to say, you know, just double the rewards and half the keys. Like 3 keys is fine. You could even do just 1 key. Like, I don't really feel there's a point to the 6 keys per day apart from wasting time to get the rewards. But it is kind of a short boss fight. So, you know, I maybe Plarium could meet me in the middle and just like double, in fact, quadruple the rewards and half the keys. So we're getting double what we do now, but we only have to do half the amount of keys. That would be pretty fun. So yeah, but I'm hopeful for Iron Twins. I think Iron Twins has the potential actually to be quite a fun boss. Just a boss that's smacking you for lots and lots of damage. It's basically like, it's very like Clan Boss, really. Yeah, I think if you tone down the Ice Golem style passive, nobody likes Ice Golem either. Put it on this boss, nobody likes this boss. I think you take out that passive, this boss becomes way more like a Demon Lord. Right, he just hits you really hard in AoE. I think that's actually simple and fun. So I'd be cool with that. Funny enough, the other bosses, which have not been changed, I would say for me, let's start with the lesser offender first. Um, this dumb boss, Scarab boss, this boss is a bloody disaster. Again, for me, the ultimate marker for is a boss bad? The ultimate marker is, do people prefer to just cheese this boss and solo it with a champion and ignore all the mechanics? Scarab boss, right? Scarab boss. Throw in a poison champion and like regen set and blood shield. Now you can do it with like a Tomb Lord. You could probably do it with Rishtov the Bold. I didn't have him built for this, so I had to put in some healers and it took a while. But you know, just people are actually doing this one fairly legitimately. Yeah, these are fairly legit teams, just raw damage because in Curse City it's a bit easier. But this boss is, I think it became even more clear for me. I forgot about him honestly in a sort of big way because I have my cheese teams down for the regular Doom Tower. When I fought him again in Curse City and I had more limited, you're going, oh my god, this is so annoying, right? You need shields up the whole time, but he steals shields. And once he starts provoking you, it's just really, really annoying. And you've got to bring in like the destroy sets as well. It's a pain in the ass. This boss is just a pain. It's just not fun. Like, I think there's just too many mechanics there. Either the whole like perma taunt thing, that's super annoying, or the buff stealing has to go, or the perma taunt has to go, or the destroy HP thing being so important has to go. There's too much happening with this boss, and it just makes for a really frustrating experience where it's just like, right, what the heck? I'll slap in a poison champion. If I've got blood shield, it's going to be okay. If not, it's going to take bloody ages. I slap them in, and they'll solo the boss, and it takes forever. And I mean, that's what people do in normal Doom Tower, is you just slap in Tomb Lord, or when you get him, you just slap in Euros, and Euros is a great champ, but that's all he's used for, is that boss in Doom Tower. You just slap him in, he keeps poisoning the boss, he gives himself a shield to keep him alive in his A1, he's got tons of health because of his passive scaling him up too, and that's it. It's just, you just cheese him with this. Not good. Not a good boss. That boss needs a lot of changes to actually be fun. Yeah, it needs one or two mechanics potentially just straight up removed. The big offender for me in terms of bosses right now, though, is Amus. I really think Amus needs a change. Like, this is something I've, even in my clan, we're like a top 10 clan. Like, not everyone clears this. Like, I don't know. Maybe it only shows you the top 10. Maybe that's it. That's probably it. Because I'm thinking there was 10 last time. It must be it only shows us the top 10. Yeah, okay. It only shows you the top 10 because people will have done this. But I don't think everyone is clearing this boss. Yeah, it only shows top 10. Okay, cool. I'm not going to rip into it as much then. I was going to say only 10 people cleared it. No, that's not it. But I don't think everyone clears it necessarily, even in my clan. I know plenty of late game players that don't even bother with this boss. I think this boss is very frustrating. For me, I think the biggest indicator about this boss, we're going to have an article on hellhades.com breaking down this strategy. But what has become a super popular strategy is we basically, as far as I'm aware, again, there'll be a full article breaking it down, and I will probably run this team just to show you guys, because I've not done it yet. As far as I'm aware, you just throw in basically anyone with Revive on Death. So again, you could use a Godseeker or a Mother Cybele. There's like rare champions. There's other champions that can do this. I think any champion with Revive on Death can cheese this boss. You just put them in with like a regen set and enough survivability to tempt the boss into trying to kill you with his A1. And he will just A1 you over and over again, and you can survive with Revive on Death and doesn't use his other abilities, and you just cheese him. And it's as simple as that. The boss never does anything. You leave your solo champion going for like 20 or 30 minutes, and they'll eventually wear him down. That's how a lot of people are doing this boss, which again is big warning sign. This boss is not good. Right? If people are preferring to do a 20-minute cheese of the boss, like with Scarab, or not quite with Sand Devil, but a long cheese of the boss with Sand Devil, that means your boss is just, it's not well designed. It is preferable to do a really annoying cheese strategy, a long, slow, boring cheese strategy, than to just fight it legit. What is the problem with Amius? I think there's a few problems with Amius. I think that where is it? There was the one that again you've got the awakening stuff. Not a fan. Not a fan at all. One thing he does. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, he's got number one. He's got an absolute wall of text, which is quite annoying. I think this one here. Whenever an enemy's cooldown is decreased with artifacts, accessories, masteries, or skills, instantly starts popping off skills. Number one, that is just obnoxiously annoying. Just change that to skills. Just change it to skills, right? There's nothing more frustrating than you go up my 5% chance master. Like, do I want to be searching through all my champions and going like, who has this mastery that's decent everywhere in the game? And I want to change their masteries with gems to fight this boss? No, hell no, hell no. Really annoying. Your 5% chance, cycle of magic, whatever it is, and because if that pops off, the boss just starts doing shit like. This is maybe my biggest problem with this boss is sometimes you're just sat there and you're going like, what is he even doing? What is this boss even like? He's literally just doing 50 million different freaking things on the screen. I don't even know what's going on. That's just a pain in the ass, honestly. It's a real pain in the ass. Yeah, not a fan of that. Not a fan of that. Again, I really, really dislike these awakening levels playing into it. I just feel like it's redundant game design, right? Your champions are already stronger by having awakening. That's the whole point of awakening. It makes them significantly stronger, in fact. You don't need to add in another thing, which is, well, unless you got awakenings, you're even weaker. You don't need that. They're already stronger by having awakening. We don't need an artificial difficulty slider added into awakening for specific bosses. No, thank you. That's a problem just in general with hard mode dungeons as well and other bosses too. Do not like that. But yeah, I think this boss, he's probably just a bit too complicated. He has too much stuff. Like, for a regular player to come in and try break this down, it's one of the complaints I've seen over and over as well, especially for normal mode, right? For casual players that are just doing normal mode, earlier game players, right? They're coming in and they're going, I'm getting absolutely slammed by this boss. I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do to beat this. It's just that, like, what are you supposed to do? Like, there's literally an essay of skills here. It's too much. It's too much. It's way too much. I also think that the background on this boss bugs out. Like, I'm not going to throw something in right now, but I think the background bugs. The background is supposed to indicate which form he's in. Like, that's not even clear. Which form is he in? The background, from what I've seen, starts to bug out sometimes, and it stays the same even when he's switching forms. Like, I don't even know what he's just firing skills all over the place. I don't know what's going on. I think this boss really needs to be simplified. Yeah, it really needs to be simplified down. Big time. There's also some annoying things in here, like it stuns everyone except mythicals, forces mythicals to change form, like that you're supposed to play it with mythicals, but I think with the faction limitations and how rare mythicals are, I'm really not a fan of that. You can see people are using mythicals, but not necessarily. I don't know. I think there's I haven't tried it this rotation. This rotation we can use Newt, so it looks like it's not so bad, but yeah, I think Amius is actually the boss that needs a nerf the most. Like, Sand Devil's up there as well. Sand Devil and Amius. One I didn't mention then is Fire Knight Hard. I think Fire Knight Hard as well. That's the other one that stands out to me. It's a pretty simple fix, though. I think you just need to lower the speed, right? This boss, when we first fought it, you guys remember, when we first fought this on the test server, was insanely easy. And then they massively increased its speed. I think you just need to tone down the speed. It's just a bit too fast. You tone down the speed and the boss is actually fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But, I mean, there's no question. Stage 10 of Fire Knight Hard is so much more difficult than Stage 10 of Dragon, Spider, Ice Golem. It's not even funny. Yeah, those would be the big ones for me. But look, Sand Devil, Phantom Shogun, Iron Twins, changes. They are coming. We'll see. We'll see what they manage to do, but I hope that they actually look into more stuff. Like I said, for me, I didn't even mention Bommel. Bommel's another one that's definitely questionable. But, I mean, Scarab and Amius really need significant changes. I think Fire Knight Hard is an easy fix. Bommel's inelegant design as well. Bommel, like, one thing, like, Bommel, he summons Dread Bombs. Does it even say here? Like, you can freeze the Dread Bombs, right? You can reduce the damage of the bombs by placing freeze. Nobody does that, right? There's a whole bunch of, and HP burns do weird interactions. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff with this boss that people just don't really use. Yeah, Bommel is another problem. We won't talk. We talked about enough here though. So that is all of that. Any other news then in this? Well, with the Cursed City, touch on the Cursed. We just been talking about that. So the Cursed City right now has had 5 rotations. They're going to be randomized from now on. So it's still going to be the same. Each individual stage has 5 different options, but they're going to basically reflip them and put them in. So it's going to be, you know, yeah, basically the stages, it's not going back to rotation 1 like we had before. When it goes back to rotation 1, it could be any, you know, let's say stage 1, it'll all be randomized, right? So the new rotation 1, maybe C1 is rotation 1, but maybe C2 is the stage that was in rotation 4 the first time. Maybe C7 is what was in rotation 3 the first time. It's all going to be flipped around. They said that they won't have it back to back. So this is rotation 5. There'll be no stages from rotation 5 next time. But yeah, that's sort of how it's going to work, which is fine. So it's going to be a bit more randomized. And that's basically it. Yeah, you've got 5 filters for each stage. They're going to be random. And that's it. So yeah, there you go. Also, there's some bugs. Wallmaster Artharion stuff. This is a big one. Saf did a video on this the other day. There's a bug with the Supersonic gear set description, a wording mistake. Check out Saf's video. That basically increases turn meter boosts cast by this champion, not turn meter boosts on this champion, which is a huge, huge deal. So, let me see. I think I've got my Kaja the Rai. It's a good example, actually, for this. Yeah, Kaja the Rai. I don't have her quite in 9-piece Supersonic yet. But this doesn't sound very good. Increased turn meter fill effects on them. Actually, turn meter fill effects cast by them. So for her as my turn meter booster, this would effectively let her come in. The enemy goes first, perhaps, puts on buffs. She gets a bunch of turn meter. Her turn meter's not pushed back if they try to do that much. Then she can come in and she can cleanse and turn meter boost me. And her turn meter boost will be 30% more powerful to let my team cut in. Supersonic's actually very, very strong. Like 4-piece Supersonic on like an Armans can let you run a slow Armans and then start to like cut in and strip them. Like you can do some fun stuff. So Supersonic's actually really good. It's way better than we thought it was. Well, I mean, people didn't really have much Supersonic. Like she's in my fastest Supersonic gear and she's like 300 speed, which is decent. But it's still like, I don't know, 50 speed behind my fastest gear. Or whatever. So yeah, look, there you go. Super. And that's her, and specifically for me, that's her with a very fast banner. She's got a triple speed banner, like 29 speed. So yeah, we'll see. But look, Supersonic sets are actually really strong. Check out Saf's video. And look, that's what I've got to say for this one. It's been a long one. Sorry. Big old rant. We'll have another big old rant tomorrow. Why the heck not? And yeah, I will see you all then. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.